start off with, I think one of the most significant things that I've learnt from my audience feedback is information that they would expect from my media product. So, for instance, when my group and I were initiating ideas for our band and for the music video, we would ask our potential audience quite basic questions such as their age, their gender, in which case we analysed these, and it came about that the average age would be around 16 to 25 and predominantly a female audience. Now these questions are very specific and it's very useful to get this feedback so we know who our target audience is and to build up this audience profile. This was done through the first pre-production music video survey, but more so in the second one, which my group and I decided to create as well, so as to find more specific information about our potential target audience. But in the first pre-production music video survey, it was useful to sort of pick apart details which they picked up on themselves, such as when we asked a question, what is your preferred artist in terms of the pop rock genre, and we came up with options such as Katy Perry, Imagine Dragons, Coldplay, Arctic Monkeys, Amy Winehouse and such, and analysing them back, we realised that the Arctic Monkeys and Coldplay were the most popular. And from this, it was very useful to get our audience feedback across, so as we could pinpoint which artist we would work with in the end, in which case we decided to go with Coldplay. And we made these decisions thereby based off of what the audience preferred, as well as with justifications of ourselves. So in the second pre-production music video survey, I think this one again was much more specific in terms of finding out the general demography, the psychography, the ethnicity, dress sense, why they watch music videos, their geographical location and such, because again, by collecting all this audience feedback, it allows you to create and mould this audience profile which is specific to your media product, in which case it was our music video. So the general demography would be students, and so they would possibly get part-time jobs, but mostly they would still be living at home, and so would be reliant upon their families. Again, we really culminated the ideas of age and gender, in which case it was just consolidated through gaining this feedback once more. Moreover, race, we got quite mixed answers and responses from our second survey, and it came across that the general race of our audience would be quite mixed in terms of white British to African to Latin American, partly I think Central African as well. And so being able to get this feedback allowed us to also represent our audience through our music video. So initially our band consisted of mostly white British actors, and through this audience feedback we allowed us to justify reasons why we changed our actors to make it more mixed in terms of white British and European / African, African Caribbean, to make it a more moulded and rounded representation, especially of youths as well. Geodemographic and mosaic. Mosaic is a way in which you can identify specific audiences or a population. So we came across, by analysing our demographic, the geodemographic profile, it came across that we would have mostly not so much elite couples, but quite working class or middle working class, or urban city populations. And this was very much reflected in our music video, in the sense that we used a lot of city scenes, such as going around Ladbroke Grove and Portobello, where we had a combination of races as well and of a population, but also in the final scenes such as Piccadilly Circus, in which case we filmed the vibe and the buzz of the city, and so by having this audience feedback, we managed to reflect all of these ideas into our music video in quite a professional way, and a very representative and just way. And so ideas from our pre-production surveys were very much useful in terms of fine-tuning ideas and representations of certain groups of, so in our music video we used representations of youths mostly in terms of a female perspective of youths in what I'd say in like contemporary times or in the 21st century, as well as male perspectives in terms of, or for the female the objectification, and for the males it would try not to conform to negative stereotypes. And so, to forward on to our post-production surveys, I have images of this as well to document our responses. The post-production questionnaire was equally as important as gaining the pre-production, given that we could culminate responses and answers after making the media product and to find out how our audience was able to identify with the representations that we created based off not of their own ideas but how we developed their ideas as well and put them all into our music video. So the majority of respondents could identify the fact that our music video was based off of the pop rock musical genre, and this was shown through symbols such as instruments, costume as well. One mentioned lighting as well, open lighting and location, which goes on to the second question as well about actors and locations. Many of our respondents found that our actors were quite representative of some races and also conforming to the genre of pop rock, as well as music videos. Moreover, as some questions were quite specific in this post-production questionnaire, such as which features or scenes of the music video did you identify with? One respondent answered in terms of the youths and young people having fun, especially when they were busking, so busking in Portobello Road. This is not only an aspect of youth culture in terms of having fun with your friends or perhaps work colleagues, but it also conforms to the genre of pop rock and pop rock music videos in terms of performance. And so we just had questions as well, such as media language and how creative we were. Again, respondents felt that we were very creative, and this was reassuring as well. However, and that was due to a range of different shots that we used and effects through editing, as well as the natural lighting, which we paid careful attention to, as well as costume. One thing that I would like to pick up on, though, is improvements, and that would also be more editing techniques, and I suppose more professional editing techniques. There's one scene, I think the split screen, which I would still like to improve on, as I find it a bit too amateur, or the way in which we have the black and white effect along with the natural lighting effect in the same shot doesn't quite work or complement each other very well, despite the effect we're trying to create. And again, a prominent answer was better camera quality. And I think this goes down to some of the handheld shots that we use, especially when our actress was running and the camera person would be running alongside her. And rather than using more high-tech equipment such as a GoPro camera, we carried on using our SLR camera, and this wasn't as effective as perhaps the high-tech GoPro camera could have been. And so these minute improvements highlighted from our audience are just one of many things which we learned from our audience feedback, and which how we can improve our media products and continue to develop our media products as well.